There you go.
Oh,
That one right there. We are recording. Just one? Or am I giving this to Chris too?
Just for you.
Alright, so we're recording ready whenever you are.
alright, 429. Right? Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. First item, signature folder. We had two timber cuts. One was
Simon Hill and the other one Molly Philbrook.
awesome.
You inquiring about the bond thing? Is that where you were curious, or just the location? One had to post the bond, so that's been posted.
Just the location, but
Yeah.
posting the bond, or what's that?
Cause
entails?
there's a state sale thing, so if there's like, any issues with the property, whatever, so like we have to make sure that the taxes are current and things like that, and if there's like a states, you said there's a
State sale.
state sale. So they have to post a bond, just stating, it confirms that all the timber taxes will be paid.
Okay, and this is state property, right?
Nope,
Not the other one, Simon.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. What time is it? Okay, make a motion to approve manifest dated October 31st, 2024. The amount of $30,364.64.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to approve manifest dated October 24th, 2024 in the amount of $31,538.74.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Make a motion to approve Board of Selectmen minutes dated October 1st, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Make a motion to approve Board of Selectmen minutes dated October 15th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Review of mail. We had a report come in for the landfill from Stanvik
Stand tech.
Tech. You wanna talk on that? Yes?
Yep, there was no red flags, there was an elevated level of, iron and manganese in one of the, it appears one of the drinking wells.
So this is the PFAS testing?
That's part of it, but
That's
this
part of
is,
it.
yeah, yeah. That's been going on for, as we discussed, 3 or 4 years now. After it was detected, that testing circumference decreases every year as long as everything comes back. So this isn't related to the PFAS, it's, anybody that lives in this area, you probably have high iron in your drinking water at home. So it makes your toilet bowl kind of gold rust color, I can't talk, rust colored. But, it was nothing alarming, just, anything elevated has gotta be reported, so. That's
Thank
it.
you. We also had a letter from Waste Zero from, not sure, South Carolina. I think they, I guess they basically help you to decrease the trash tonnage and everything else. And personally, I think we're doing a pretty good job with our waste treatment right now. But I don't know, should we go look into it, or?
Could look into it a little further, just seeing it, it's,
Well, I think it'd be worth looking into it. Just look at it, I think. Be
Yeah.
familiar with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll get with Caitlin, take a look at it. Department reports. Police,
Yes, I broke it down a little bit more this month. I'll preface it by say that the numbers on the front sheet here aren't gonna be our total number of stats for the month, only because there are so many different options. It took me quite a bit to break this down, but it's just the categories I gave you, a lot of the ones that we handle on a more frequent basis, just so you can get an idea of the different things that we're doing. If you want, I'll kind of run down through all of them.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you go into the software,
Mhm.
can you see these categories or do you literally
I
have
have to click the box for the category.
to
one
show
by one.
up?
Yep. So when I pull the stats, I do like from the first of the month to the last day of the month. And then there's a drop down box for every one of these. Every one of these has its own checkbox. And I have to click them individually and then run the whole month for just that one. Like 911 hang up. I have to run just that one to get the total number. Because if I try to click them all together, it's gonna give us all of them on one page, and then I'd have to go through and count them all, like which category is which.
You can't do an export to okay.
So I've sent an email out to Center Score to see if there's an easier way to do it or not, and I've yet to hear back. I just get an automated email that says my request is being processed and I should hear back.
Are we the only one in the county that's kind of going into this level of detail on that software?
So Tamworth does the same thing, but I asked them how they did theirs, and they have an administrative assistant who actually every single day, she prints the log and hand counts each one of these categories and does it on a handwritten checklist. So every single day she comes in, because she works quite a few days a week for them. They come in and she handwrites every one of the calls and puts them into a little spreadsheet that she creates herself. So she's putting plenty of hours into it as well. This took me like an hour 15 minutes to do just this. So, because it runs all 30 or 31 days or whatever we're trying to do for each one of those at a time. And then I have to go back in and reselect all the different things just to get the next category. So I have to do it over and over and over again.
Do we have any time Thursday afternoon in the work session to talk on this for like 15 minutes?
I doubt it.
Doubt it?
We got 3 items that we're gonna
Okay.
talk about.
Let's touch base this week.
Yeah.
Because I used to build some of these reports
Mhm.
and I'll refine it with you and we can make a request to it.
Another thing I thought about doing is like I could try to just break it down into categories. Like not really like necessarily like this big of a thing, but you know, we could do like reactive versus proactive type of calls. So like I could basically do that. Cause I can select a bunch of different ones all at once. So like motor vehicle stops is like a proactive type thing.
There may be a way we can actually build an export file.
We'd have to work with county IT for that.
That's okay, if we could basically do it. If there's more than one town, it sounds like there's a town spending a lot of money doing the same kind of thing that we'd like to do. There may be a way to basically get this done cost effectively.
Okay.
Because building a report shouldn't be more than a few $100
Right.
from an export file standpoint, so it's not a big deal,
Right.
but it is a deal to define what you want in the report. So,
Chris?
Okay.
I don't disagree with any of the stuff that Chuck's saying. There's all valuable tools and a good research and things like that. But I think I told you earlier, I'm gonna come at it from a different standpoint. I think the stats and the way you did it before, in the interest of time, I think was adequate. If we have a resident that has concerns or direct questions, then if they wanna sit down with you at their leisure and your time, and then you could break that down, and then what you and Chuck were just, and Chuck was just referring to.
Yep.
Would simplify that for when you had a direct question from a taxpayer. I believe in full transparency, but at the same time, I mean, we gotta make best use of all of our time and stuff. And I think that the reporting that you had going before was absolutely, sufficient.
Okay.
Without going into this much detail. That's where I'm coming from, that's my.
And I'm completely fine going forward with that because that was relatively easy for me to compile. This was easy for me to compile. It just takes it's a lot of clicking, a lot of unchecking and checking boxes, and because we have to, like when I run our stats, I have to select just Effingham, and then for all these, I had to pick the specific call reason, and then there's a whole bunch of different information you can have included, and I have to limit it out, or otherwise you get all sorts of wild things that you don't need to look at.
Okay.
So,
So you wanna just touch base?
I'll touch base on just list our
Last
total.
page.
yeah, our total cost of the month were 335. And so through this year, we've handled 3,370 calls. And this time last year, we were at 2,618, so the trend still continues upwards. We're up 752 calls from last year. And just a couple points on the front half is, you can see like our higher numbers for like directed patrols. That's our road patrols, neighborhood patrols, our radar checks, like when we log speed checks in certain areas that we get speed complaints, that's all that kind of stuff. So anytime we're doing any sort of a directed area patrol that we've had either issues or people who have called in expressing concerns about certain things, that's one of our biggest ones. It just shows, you know, our proactivity out in the community and that we're taking the time to do that. Motor vehicle stops were at 47. There was one arrest. Yeah, there's a bunch of all sorts of other stuff. A couple of the categories, in case any questions arise, like the call for local PD. Those are like people that call in that want to talk to an officer about. It could be whatever. They just dispatch will log it just as that, and then they send us their number to give them a call. So that could either create another it will be either changed into another category or just stay in that if somebody just had like a basic question about something. Sometimes it's people looking for reports. It could be a number of things. And then like assist citizens, that is same thing. It could be a phone call request, a report request, fingerprinting, pistol permit pickups, all sorts of different things. So it's a very broad category.
Did we have any requests for using the K9 last month?
Yeah, I was gonna touch base on that. So September there were 3 deployments, all for tracks. All were successful. And then today, actually, we got called up to the treatment center for a walk away that was in emotional distress and taking some medication, was in the woods, pretty disoriented, and the K9 ended up locating him in the woods, and we were able to get him medical treatment into a hospital. So that was a pretty successful thing for us. So he walked away from respite. They didn't know where he was. He hadn't been seen in over an hour, and the dog located him in about 3 minutes. So it just shows her value to this town and how much of an asset she really is.
Yeah, otherwise you would have had to have a team go out there and search and rescue and.
And I mean, you wouldn't have been able to see him from the road, but he wasn't far from the road. He was in a thicket of pines, laying down, pretty disoriented from the medication that he'd taken, and she brought us right to him. So
Below freezing tonight, that could have turned.
yeah, he was pretty cold. We got him into a cruiser, got the heat on him before the fire department got there, and ambulance took him to the hospital.
I have another question, Chief.
Yep.
The times like last night, was that last night? Yeah, that was last night. Today's Tuesday, right?
Yes.
So the times like last night when one of the selectmen call you direct,
Yep.
does that get logged?
No.
So you can add
This is for September.
for the whole month?
This is just.
Alright, so let's add another 35, 40 calls onto that call log. So,
Yeah. So.
Well, you got his direct number, that's why.
and Brian.
Yeah, so that, sometimes like when our personal phones rings, it doesn't get logged. Like if I was in front of my MDT, I would have logged it, you know. But I mean, I just got home and gone off duty when you called me, so. It's just one of those things, you know. This is our log calls for service, we could say that. That come either through our dispatch or we enter ourselves.
I assumed that you didn't have like when you were having dinner with your future in-laws, that are not your in-laws,
Yeah, that's true.
you didn't have the
No,
computer in front of you to log it.
and if it's something like if my phone rings, then I'm not working and it's something that needs to be, you know, addressed immediately, I will call the sheriff's office and we'll have a call made and the on-duty officer will handle it.
So you all set for Halloween this week?
Yeah, so another announcement is Thursday, we're gonna be in Lost Valley because I know that's a pretty highly targeted area in town. I'm gonna have a table set up, my cruiser's gonna be in there stationed there, we'll have a bunch of treats for the kids, so if you see us, come get some stuff. Have all the blue lights on so everybody know where we are, and we'll also have another officer out on patrol, so we'll be patrolling all the other roads as well as doing a roving patrol inside of Lost Valley. And did you wanna speak to
Yes.
the hours?
Since you brought that up, I mean, every year we set the date, so Ospey has set theirs from 5 to 7 to Do we wanna follow suit, 5 to 7? Trick or treating?
Based on my activity this last week, where I was, they had Halloween by 7 o'clock, it was pitch black.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's
And,
here.
Yeah.
5-7.
Just some
Five,
safety
seven.
points too for everybody. If you're gonna be out at night, make sure you got some sort of a light with you, flashlight, your cell phone flashlight, something like that. If you're gonna be in kind of a darker area, just so the motoring public can see you. Cause a lot of these Halloween costumes are kind of dark in nature. So just, that way you can illuminate yourselves. And I know that JT and I are both planning on being there on Thursday night, so we'll be there together and I'm sure he'll have some fun stuff for the kids too. So we're gonna have a nice little table set up.
Good PR.
You all set?
Yes, sir.
Fire department chief?
Alright, let's see if technology's gonna play. I'm gonna try and put my stuff up on the TV.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah, if, Mr. Chairman, if you're okay with Mr. Felix.
Yeah, Mr. Yes.
So our association is intending on conducting another raffle this year for the helmet and a couple of other things. And per RSA, we need the board's approval. So that's the paperwork for that.
How much are the tickets?
20, I think is what we decided on.
$20. And you see it?
I don't know.
I had no issue with it.
We just need to make a motion and vote on it.
Make a motion that we approve the Effingham Firefighters Association in seeking
Sorry, go ahead.
in seeking permission from the Effingham Board of Selectmen to hold a raffle to benefit the association.
Second,
All in favor?
Same as I.
Aye.
Thank you.
Want a copy
thank you,
of that?
Dan. Yes.
We'll give it to Caitlin
Okay.
and she'll get your copy
I'll
to,
bring a copy back.
Okay.
okay.
I'm headed to Wolfboro to hit my wife.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Felix.
Thank you.
I apologize, time was not on my side tonight, so I didn't have printed stats ready, so we're gonna use our technology and try to save some trees if possible moving
Saving
forward.
trees is good.
We'll see if this format works, and we'll kind of go this way moving forward. Chief Eldridge and I have also had a discussion with Caitlin today. We're gonna get all of our stats into a folder on the website under the documents section. So each month, what we're presenting here at the Board of Selectmen's meeting will be up on the website for everybody to view. This first document I've got up shows the type of calls we responded to. This is for the month of September. We are a little behind in our stats, but 31 calls for the month of December. You can see as September, if I just said a different month. As you can see, the majority are EMS calls, with a few others scattered throughout. The building fire that's listed up there was a mutual aid call. Questions on that? This is the report that shows the apparatus going to calls, so you can see how many calls each vehicle went to. I know I've answered the question before. POV stands for personally owned vehicle, so that's our firefighters responding in their own vehicles to calls. 2A1's the ambulance, car 1 is my vehicle, engine 1, engine 2, and engine 3. As you can see, we take car 1 to the majority of the calls, and that's keeping the big trucks off the road, saving some fuel and saving the wear and tear.
What's A1 again?
Ambulance. That is Effingham's ambulance, to be clear.
Right.
Action only represents a call that there was no Effingham responders for, and Action handled the call on their own. Calls by day of the week. You can tell our stats are still showing what they have been. Saturday is our busiest day of the week. We have had the duty coverage extended out onto Saturdays, and it has definitely been worth its while. Calls by the time of day, split into blocks. Unfortunately, it's sorting into districts, which makes it kind of look funky, but you can see it looks like overall that from noon to about 4 o'clock PM is our busiest time of the day. And our duty shift is currently 9 to 5, so it hits that block very well. This shows the members of the department and how many calls they handled for the month, along with a percentage. That's a response time, you don't want that. And this is just a listing of all the calls. Again, there were 31 calls throughout the month, and it just lists out the address and some of the specific information. This does show during coverage hours or outside coverage hours. The last column on the right is how many Effingham folks went to the call. This one's kind of hard to display because of how big it is. Any questions on those?
We don't run into any HIPAA issues at that level, do we?
We do not. This report does not include the house number on the road. It does include the road name, but not the house number.
Okay.
We do that on purpose for a little bit of privacy for the folks we're going out to see. I do not believe we had any ambulance transports for the month of September. Nope, that is not correct. We did have one ambulance transport for the month of December. Action had all 3 of their ambulances out, so we did take somebody up to Memorial. Any questions on the stats? Unfortunately, I don't have the cover page counted out yet, so I don't have the data on how many calls were at High Watch and things like that, but when it's posted on the website, that will be included. All right.
Nice job.
Into October a little bit. We've had 20 calls so far for the month, and we're right around 340 calls for the year as of today's date. So we're trending at about our norm as of late. We did have a chimney fire Friday evening. 911 call originally said the chimney, there was a fire in the chimney. Second call said, now the roof is on fire. Carroll County sent out an automatic first alarm as per our protocol. It brought in a number of our mutual aid partners. It just so happens that there was still somebody in our station. One of our people was still there working on something. So the engine was on scene within 3 or 4 minutes of the original tone.
What road was it?
It was on Great Fox Road. So an incredible response time that is not typical for our department, but they were definitely able to get there, confirm that there was no fire on the roof. It was all contained to the chimney pipe. Able to get that cleaned out and clear before there was any damage to the house before it got outside of the chimney pipe. Our mutual aid companies did help us out. Freedom and Center Ospey helped us a little bit on scene. Newfield, Maine provided coverage at our station should we have had another call during that time, and the rest of the folks were returned. So I made a post on the Facebook, but thanks to our mutual aid partners for coming out to help us and being here fast. And thankfully there was no major damage to that house. Outside of stats, Engine 2's refurbishment, we've signed the contract with Autotronics. We've had that gone through legal and everything else. That contract is signed, and we, at this point, are just awaiting the pickup date, which is at this point scheduled for June of next year. So if anything else changes on that, I will give an update. The Assistance to Firefighters grant we obtained a few months ago. We've been working through quoting. We've gotten quotes from 4 different agencies at this point for the prescribed equipment that we asked for in the grant. We did explore different manufacturers. We did actually do some hands-on testing with some of the hose and things like that. You would be amazed some of the different technology that is in a hose line. The material, the construction, the way it handles, the way it flows. You know, some of it is made to flow at a lower pressure, but it won't kink on itself, things like that. It's amazing all the different types of hose and types of material that you can actually buy. So by actually putting hands on it, we were able to test some of the material and decide what works best for us, what's easiest for us to deploy and operate with limited manpower. With our 4 quotes, we kind of compared the pricing and who was able to provide all of the equipment and who could only provide some, or who couldn't provide the specific vendors that we wanted, or the specific material of hose we wanted. At this point, Firematic is the company that is able to provide totality of what we're looking for. So at this point, we are moving forward with quoting out from Firematic and working on a final order with Firematic for our equipment. We did speak in a Board of Selectmen meeting about RFPs for this. Because we do have a couple of established vendors, we elected not to put this out to RFP, and because it's such specific equipment, it's not a broad type of equipment. But we did do the due diligence of getting 4 different quotes, so we did at least price shop for this stuff.
Do you need that for the grant to show that you did that?
The grant requirements do require us to have a couple of different quotes. They didn't require the RFP necessarily, but they did want us to have a couple of quotes to show that we didn't just pick one person and go with them. We did shop around to make sure we were getting an adequate price.
Good.
So there is a 5% match, which will come out of our equipment trust fund once we're ready to do that. So we'll revisit that once we have final numbers. But at this point, it looks like we'll be within the grant numbers and we won't be over any. So we do have enough money left in the fund to handle that. We're prepared for it.
And how much was the grant amount again?
I don't have the total in front of me, but it was 63.
Something like
We'll
that.
call it 64,000. Okay.
So, that'll bring us some much needed hose, get rid of some really old stuff and upgrade our technology quite a bit, so.
So what do you do with the old holes?
Some of it we're gonna keep, there is still some stuff that is newer that we've bought over the last couple of years that we are gonna keep in service. The stuff that we no longer have a use for, we'll consult with the board before we do it, but chances are some of our neighboring mutual aid departments right around us have a need for hose. And it's still, it passed hose testing, so it's still in service. So if we can provide some of that to our mutual aid, I think that's the most appropriate way to dispose of it.
Agree.
So, we'll come up with what we're gonna give to who, and we'll make sure we document that through the process and run it through the board before we do it, but.
Okay, good.
Some of the other projects I've been working on, not necessarily fire department related, consolidated communications, we're still working through the whole phone project. I have been communicating on a more regular basis with them at this point. We do have a meeting coming up at some point to discuss the actual rollout, and I don't remember off the top of my head when that is, but
I don't think we got a set date.
yeah, they've been back and forth. They're still trying to tie everything up on their end. There's a lot of moving parts with this because they are establishing a new connection at the transfer station and running new fiber to the fire station. So it's not just as simple as changing out equipment. There's a lot in totality. We did find out that we didn't quote a network switch in the original quote for the fire station, which is the box that all the internet stuff plugs into. And they do require that we have a consolidated switch on site because of the telephones. So originally we had quoted a 24 port switch for this building, the town office. In doing our math and all the runs we're gonna have once we get everything connected, some of these out in this room aren't actually connected right now. We're gonna need more than 24, so I've asked for a price on a 48 port that we could put in this building, and the 24 that we planned on here can go to the fire station. So I'll have more on that once I get the quote back. IT and email stuff, we did get new printers for this building. We got a couple small desktop printers in this building as well as the fire station. Four. We ordered 4 new printers, so there's one out back in the modular for the general use, there's one out back for the police. That one's not fully set up yet, but we do have it. One at the fire station and then one in the administrator's office. The copy machine will be moving into this room for some more generalized use. And we'll be establishing a PIN number that the boards and commissions will have so that they can utilize that to make copies and whatnot. We didn't want to just leave it free and open access so that, non-town stuff was being copied on the printer.
You have a date when you're gonna get that done?
I had talked to the gentleman from Port Office when he came to bring the ingot toner, and I explained to him what we wanted. So what will happen is once we get this out here, he'll come in.
Okay.
So we didn't do it right when he was there because of the fact we were still waiting for things. You'd have to re-network it all, so we're waiting till it's in here and then he'll get it all set up.
Okay, good.
And part of the issues we've got to fix is we've determined that all the different internet ports around this room are not actually connected, and the one that the phone is plugged into over here is the only one that actually works right now. So we've got to fix that before we can actually plug the copy machine in out here. So that is a work in progress as well. Wi-Fi was another big topic, specifically on the modular. Poor Carol, we've been hearing it for quite a while from her. We did obtain another access point for out there. Turns out the only access point providing Wi-Fi signal we had is actually in Caitlin's office out front. So no wonder it wasn't extending very well out into the modular. So
Yeah, it's pretty
we
cool.
obtained another device. It is installed out there. They have full bars out there. And we have also been able to get 2 laptops up and running for the supervisors. Everything works on them. They have Office. They have everything they need.
With the screens,
They have a big screen so they can see their documents.
Cody?
They can print out there from everything. They had a meeting on Saturday. I guess they were out there for like 6 hours on Saturday doing stuff, and Carol said everything worked flawlessly, so.
That'll be it.
Breath. I think that's really all we've got going on with IT stuff right now. We are still working through the email changeover project to the Office 365. We are working behind the scenes every day, a little bit on that. We did do a mass password reset yesterday to allow the IT company in to do the things they need to do behind the scenes to reset things and back up things. So that change should hopefully be coming in the next couple of weeks. Caitlin, anything else on IT that you can think of?
The only thing is Brandon will be here Friday. Oh, and he'll be doing a couple things, so we'll JT and I will meet him here Friday morning and go over what he's planning to do.
We're still, planning RFP for, IT,
We are,
first of the year,
more than likely.
first of the year.
So, yeah, Caitlin and I need to find some spare time in our busy
I understand.
schedules, and we'll get an RFP drafted out, and we can get that put out.
Good.
Caitlin's been a huge help through all of that IT stuff, so can't say enough. We've spent way too much time together doing all this. Do you have something?
Questions?
I didn't know if you were done.
I have more, but if you have a question about this stuff.
Nope. Please continue.
Was it about IT stuff, or is it, okay.
You should know better.
FirstNet, FirstNet's the cell phone provider that provides specific coverage to first responders and municipalities and things like that. The fire department's been using them basically since I started. We are working on getting all of the town-owned cell phones transitioned onto FirstNet. There's not really a huge cost savings there. It's more of a, billing savings, and that we don't have multiple vendors and things like that. And there is also a very large benefit when we have a storm. I've called in that portable cell phone tower a few times. That portable cell phone tower specifically works for FirstNet to keep all of us up and running so that we can work out in the field. So all of the town cell phones, the police department laptops, all of that stuff will continue working. We're working through that now. We just did the order for all the police equipment. We've got a couple of the police laptops up and running on FirstNet. So slow transition to that, but we'll be able to get rid of Verizon. It'll all be on one vendor. We did also purchase a town cell phone for the road agent, Kevin. We haven't gotten that to him yet, but he'll have that shortly. So I'm not sure if that's a number that'll be accessible publicly, but he will have a town cell phone to communicate back and forth.
Shouldn't be public, right?
He will also have an email that's attached to that phone, so.
I personally would say we continue to do the same thing. Have them call Board of Selectmen's office. I'll reach out to Kevin through email or call him directly, and then he can contact.
Yeah, we should have his phone. also.
Yes, you.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
I'd rather try that process.
Not give us a dispatch.
I think that
No.
dispatch should have it,
I was just saying that, and
the SAU office should have it, and the contractors,
Oh,
obviously.
no, that, I'm talking
Yeah.
like,
as soon as I get it, I'll update the SAU office and dispatch with it, so they have it, that he's our primary point of contact, no matter what the season now.
Great.
It has been great. Speaking of Kevin, he's communicated a lot with some of the different projects going on in town that might affect fire or police, so having that communication from a town employee has been fantastic.
Question more on, vehicle for a road agent.
We finally got the title for the new pickup truck yesterday. That is all registered and good to go now. I'm gonna bring the old vehicle tomorrow to get an inspection sticker and an oil change, and after that, we should be good to make the switch, so I'll get in touch with Kevin tomorrow.
Okay.
And go through that process with him. The generator at the fire station, the equipment's all been ordered. We're just awaiting stuff to start arriving. DigSafe was at the station the other day, so that is moving forward. We did get the check from the insurance company that's covering all but the $1,000 deductible. The roof at the fire station, we're gonna talk about RFPs here shortly. We did get our RFPs in, we met and reviewed them, and I think we've decided on one, so there'll be a vote on that coming. Still working with FEMA every week for the April storm. At this point, it looks like we're gonna get somewhere around $100,000 back for expenses during the April storm. That's not finalized yet, but we're getting very close. We did also get the money for Molly Philbrick, which was somewhere around $17,000 to complete repairs to Molly Philbrick Road from, I don't even know, 2022 storm?
Yep, 2022 storm, and with a $7,000, is it 15 or 17 that we got? 17 from them, with a total of a $25,000 match, I think.
Yes, so we got 18,900 from the government, and the total cost of the project was projected to be 25.2. So it's a 75% cost share, the feds pay 75%, we pay the 25%. So we do have, I believe Michelle did get that money in as well, so I believe she does have that in hand, so.
When does that have to be, used up?
We have 2 years.
I believe it's 2 years,
Okay, so,
period of performance, that says 3/14/25, but
yeah,
I don't think it needs to be finished by that point, so I will clarify that,
yeah.
make sure,
Pushing snow if we do that.
correct. Fire station, so I don't think we've had an official conversation about this in a board meeting. I know we've brushed the topic a few times, but as part of Chris's project with the roads and the potential bond for the roads, we discussed an additional bond for $1 million to put an addition onto the fire station that will house fire and police. The existing fire building is slated to remain intact and still exist. This would be a freestanding building next to the building that will house administrative office areas, crew space, things like that, to get us out of the bay that we're currently in, and also to get the police out of the modular, which is woefully inadequate for what's going on. We've been meeting with some different vendors and things like that to try and start getting some prices together. We're looking at doing a low cost steel type building, a Morton building or something similar. It's the most cost effective way to do it, and we're starting now to talk to some of the interior finishing people and electricians and things like that for the ancillary costs. We're hoping to put forward a warrant article at town meeting for $1 million to complete this project and get all of us in a safer, happier workspace that will meet our needs for many years to come. Up on the board, I've got our initial floor plan. The police and fire departments have met together and kind of decided what we need, what we want, and what we can actually fit into the budget and things like that. This layout is pretty simple. It's not a lot of wasted space. It's not a lot of, wants. This is all purely things that we need to operate, we need to function, and we need to keep our crews, our firefighters, our police officers safe. There are some benefits to the community with this as well. As you can see, we've got a training and community room. Our plan is to have a room very similar to this one where we can hold our fire training, police training, community events. If Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, something like that needed a place to meet, it's potentially an avenue for that as well. You can see some of the different rooms we've got. The garage that you see there is a sally port for the police. Again, all the fire vehicles will remain in the existing structure. The existing structure is adequate for that. That is a police sally port that you can see up there on the top left. This will provide the police chief's office, an interview room, a bathroom, patrol office. So the Brian and hopefully the new full-time officer will have a space to work. An evidence room that's actually up to code and standard and meets what they need for security. It'll provide us a shared kitchen and day room, so we'll be able to cook meals, have lunch. If we have a major storm, we'll be able to use that to provide food to our crews.
Is there a door in between that?
There are, not all the doors are pictured on this, but yes, there are doors going into all these different spaces.
So, police and fire have a firewall between the two.
They are not separated by any kind of a firewall, and I'll get to my reasoning behind that. We did cover that and look into do we need it, do we not need it? This entire building will have a security system similar to what you'd see in like maybe a school, where you have an ID card that allows you into different spaces. So from a security perspective, that's how the building will be split. Only the police will be allowed on that left-hand side of the building. They'll have badge access to get into all their different spaces, and that keeps them secure and meets the federal requirements that they're held to. From a decon and potential exposure type of issue, so if we go out in the field and we had a fire and we come back from the fire and we're gross, or we have a hazmat situation, things like that. The other part of this project, it's a much smaller part, and it's not going to be nearly as in depth. The existing fire station, the bathrooms will be renovated, a shower will be placed in there, there will be a locker room in there, and there will be a weight room or a workout room in the old fire building. Our standing policies will be if either police or fire are exposed to anything or get dirty or anything like that in the field, they are not permitted in the new building. They are cleaning themselves off and washing their clothes in the old building before they come back here. So the old building will be that separation. On the right side of the building is kind of the fire side. Again, the kitchen and day room is shared. There's space for a secretary that can be shared between both agencies. That room will also be configured to take over dispatching duties should we have a major storm, should Carroll County have an issue where they go down or something like that. We'll be able to kind of dispatch our own emergency services out of this facility in that room. We will have a lobby, so it will be an actual lobby where you can come in and talk to the secretary, get a burn permit, whatever you may need. Fire chief's office, we've got a fire officer's office and a conference room, so that's for the fire officers to have a workspace to do the things that they're responsible for. It's also gonna be set up as a conference room for emergency management, so if this becomes the emergency operations center during a storm, that's where all the department heads would be and be making the decisions as the storm goes on. There's a bathroom with a shower in this building as well, so that if somebody's there staying overnight, they could use that shower to clean up, but again, that is not a decon shower. That's just a, I slept here overnight, need to take my morning shower type of situation. There's an office for the fire crew members, so that's where our fire crews would write their reports and things of that nature. There is a bedroom on here. Just because we see a bedroom on here, I want to be very clear, that doesn't mean that we're going to be asking for 24-hour coverage right away. That's a situation where if we have a storm, if we have impending bad weather, rather than having our crews out on the roads trying to drive in for fire calls and things like that, we could house them there if necessary. Maybe someday in the future that could expand into night coverage, but that is not the intent of putting a bedroom on this drawing. I just want to make that crystal clear ahead of time.
And in April, you actually had to sleep there, right? Or somebody?
I slept on the nurse's bench at the elementary school, which was about 2 feet too short for me. So yeah, having a place where we can rest will be vital for even the police officers too. That's not just for fire. You know, those guys can have a place to rest as well, and that way we're not worrying about coming in and out of town and trying to travel through a major storm or anything like that.
Secretary,
Yes.
so this is gonna be like Chris's office?
Yeah, and then we had a conversation too about sharing the duties between the two.
So Chris can handle the fire?
Yeah.
For building, bill permits, yeah, okay.
So, and that's something, you know, it's not in my fire budget at the moment to have a secretary, but moving forward in the future, you know, should we have this building and should we have the space to share a secretary,
I totally agree with Sherry.
it'd become part of, part of the budget,
You know,
so.
that way anybody could come into that lobby and
Karen and Sharon.
do what they needed to do, whether it's one or the other. So,
And the ideal, whether that's Chris or, you know, a new employee,
Whatever,
however that was to
yeah.
work out, ideally that individual would be capable of doing that dispatch function as well, so if we needed them to come in and answer radios and log things, theoretically that person should be capable of
which we
handling
already
that
have the
function.
software to do too.
Correct.
Okay.
So we're trying to be cost effective with this, we're trying to be reasonable with it, you know, we don't need a Taj Mahal, we're not looking for a ginormous fancy building, we're just looking for something that's healthy and safe for all of our folks to be in. You know, the modular, we've beaten that up over and over again, that was a temporary solution and it's been X number of years at this point. It's not safe for these guys. Tyler and I were both on the stairs yesterday and I thought we were gonna fall through the stairs going through.
Well, yeah, the weight.
You know, yeah, I know.
Hey.
Well, we're gonna have a workout room in these renovations, so we can keep ourselves healthy that way as well. So,
So the stairs have an issue on the back?
yeah, the outside staircase is getting a little soft.
It's getting a little soft. I was gonna bring that up later, but
Chris has drawn a little pictogram on the board there, kind of showing how we would lay out the buildings. You know, there'd be a parking lot involved in there as well. We'd still have use of the bay in the back of the old fire station as well. We would just go out and there's a second entrance on the property to 153. So we'd be able to use that as the second entry point, or we could come around both buildings and go back up to the front
What's
parking
the
lot.
distance between the two buildings?
To be determined based on site evaluation.
So the current configuration of the parking lot is actually not even with the building, but, you know, there's a little bit of dirt over here on the edge of the pavement. So looking at tax maps and stuff the other day so we met with a vendor that, sells and distributes and erects Lester buildings, which is another type of metal building as opposed to steel frame, it's wood frame, structural frame. So looking at the tax map, if you look at the tax maps, it's determined that this boundary line is way over here. So we're not utilizing this as like wooded space. It's my opinion, during a work session, we have further discussion, I'll move things along, but if we cut some of these trees, I think we should make this parking lot larger over here for the fire department parking purposes. The leach field sits here. The generator pad's on the backside of the building. It's currently here, it's gonna get moved to here, that's a big pad. At some point in time, there was a concrete pad with pins in it for an addition that never got done. So this driveway will come out here, and then the PD from the Sally Port, same thing. The monument and flagpoles and stuff is over here. So,
The sheds all come down?
yeah, the old chuck walk booth and stuff is
Where you gonna store your, fire engine?
That'll be in Station 1.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm just realizing the time
Oh,
is
sorry.
7:15, and
Yep.
we have the public hearings.
We have a public hearing today?
We have to accept funds
It's not on the agenda.
at the top.
Oh,
Sorry about that, should have been at 5.
Sorry, my
We'll
fault.
come back to you.
I'm not done.
Alright, make a motion as prescribed by RSA 31:95 dash small b, section 3, to accept unanticipated funds in the amount of $17,256.81 from the Effingham Preservation Society.
second.
All in favor?
Aye. Siemens, aye.
Aye.
You can do the next one as well, that was at 5:05.
Make a motion as prescribed by RSA 31:95 dash B, section 3, to accept unanticipated funds in the amount of $18,900 from the state of New Hampshire, Molly Philbrick. FEMA.
Second.
All in favor?
Fuller, aye.
Siemens, aye.
C and I. Sorry about that.
Nope, you're good. I just noticed too, so it's not just you.
So we're still putting together the pieces of this project. You know, we do want it to be as transparent as possible. You know, we do want our intentions to be clear with it. We do want the public to be involved in what we're doing here. So we will have meetings for the public once we have more information together and a budget and things like that, where we can discuss why we're doing what we're doing and, you know, why the building is the way it is and things like that. Why we can't just use the existing fire station, all of that type of stuff. We do already have a Primex evaluation of the modular on file, from what I understand, a risk assessment. Excuse me, they're gonna be coming out to do a risk assessment on the fire station as well, to see if there's anything there that is relevant to this project as well. So, once we have that, that'll be some documents that,
You sure you want Primex to come in and check the modular?
I think they already did, so
They actually
won't be
did,
coming
and
back.
there's some elements of that that are confidential too, so don't make that report public.
Correct. I was just making sure that Caitlin had a copy of it. I know that it's somewhere.
How come I'm not aware of that?
This is the first time.
It
I'm
wasn't
hearing
recently.
No, this was done a couple years ago.
Oh, okay, I thought
3 years ago.
Yeah. This was,
so you're not, okay, so you're not doing it,
There's no reason to do it again.
okay,
Yeah, they're gonna do the fire station, but
okay, gotcha.
we haven't done that before, so. You know, anybody from the public that has questions about the project, come see one of us. You know, Chris has been intimately involved, myself and Chief Eldridge have been involved. And like I said, we do want to involve the public moving forward once we have more of the details ironed out.
With, speaking of that report on that building, have you reviewed that report relative to your plan design?
not yet.
You should do that.
Yeah, we should. I'll get a copy of that
Yep.
from you.
Yeah, if you wanna come by tomorrow,
Yeah.
I'll look for it.
I think I have one too. I was a very minimal part of it back when it happened, back when Chief Duchesne was here. It was right after I first started here, when the Primex was in doing that, so.
Like to see that report.
I gotta find it, it's the first time I'm hearing of it too.
And to add to that, it's, without getting into the details of it too much, it's not about the configuration as much as it is lack of certain things.
Yeah, that's more or less what that report was, it's just the lack of certain things and,
Pointing out potential issues.
there was just certain things that weren't up to standard.
Right,
From my
but
recollection.
that becomes part of your presentation around what you're doing from a design standpoint.
Right.
Because it gives us a
Which
chance
is-
to.
What I've been basing this off of, but I haven't, looked at the, as far as that.
The drawings that I put up on the board, one of our firefighters, Tyler Dutile, had some software. He's come up with these drawings. These are not actual professional drawings, so.
Doing a pretty good job.
We do have a resident in town, he and his son both do this kind of stuff for work, and they've already volunteered some time. They already did kind of a rough site map drawing of the exterior of the building. We're gonna provide this to them and see if they have input or, if they wanna modify this to make it professional, but Tyler did a great job with what he's done so far, so. More to follow. Lastly, the E911, Caitlin and I have been working on a couple of projects. Green Mountain Treatment Center has finished, it's all been readdressed. We've been up there for a number of calls so far, and so far it's been great. we're actually getting the address for the specific building we're supposed to go to rather than a generic street address, 244 High Watch Road. We're getting the individual building's address, whether it's a fire alarm, a medical, whatever it is, so we know where we're going, we know which building we're going to. That was a huge change that has been very good for us. With that being said, we've got a couple other projects that we're starting out with. High Watch Road is kind of one of them. We've identified that the 25 end of High Watch Road, the existence of that and it being called High Watch Road is actually a violation of the E911 rules. The road needs to connect all the way through and it can't have different names on each side. It's actually a violation of the E911 rules and it's confusing for responders. If, you were to give that number on High Watch Road, chances are the majority of the people are gonna drive up the Green Mountain Treatment Center side of High Watch Road rather than Route 25. So we're looking at that, and potentially the easiest thing to do is just rename the road on the 25 side. It only affects one residence, go from there. That conversation has been started.
2 residents.
2, okay.
So I'm trying to understand where that is.
Right here.
By the field.
And I'll tell you, it does get confusing.
I didn't realize.
If it's anything over 244, the easiest way to remember is that it's over here.
Right.
Which, weirdly shaped, but
And there are 2 addresses on High Watch Road.
Yeah.
Got it,
Right here
got
by
it,
the field.
got it, alright.
Granite Road, same conversation. Is there any near future repair of the bridge on Granite Road?
3038.
So with that being said, Granite Road is in violation of E911 law as well. Last year we had a building fire on Granite Road and some of the mutual aid went the wrong way. They followed GPS and it took them around. They came in from the Nutter Road end. So that's another road that we're gonna need to look at. Again, I think there's more houses on the Nutter Road end of Granite versus the,
It's about 50-50.
it is.
so I know 1 through 50 are on the Province Lake side and I don't know how many are on the other side. But that will be a conversation as well. We may need to rename one of the 2 portions of that road as well.
6 on Nutter Road, 9 on 153.
To prevent any future issues.
So it's all like that.
We started the discussion about the campgrounds. The 911 mapping for the campgrounds is kind of messy currently, so I haven't read through this I just got this email just before the meeting started. Remick Road Campground, which is Province Lake RV Lodge right now, I think. They've changed a couple of times. As well as Ospey Lake Campground out on Route 25. Ospey Lake Campground's a little better, it's laid out in areas, but it's still kind of tough if you don't have the map in front of you to figure out which area is which, so.
And Jolly Rogers. Is
Jolly Roger is its own bullet point. Hughes Lane was another topic that came up, the Ryfield Apartments on Hughes Lane. They were using 18 Hughes Lane for the whole property. The buildings are numbered separately, there's an 18 and a 22. We're addressing that, the property owner is cooperating with that. He's gonna relabel the buildings and make sure the tenants are aware of which building they're in. So that'll fix that problem. The 911 mapping has already been updated to reflect which building is which. Jolly Roger. That whole thing's a mess. Jolly Roger, the whole situation is quite the mess. It's very confusing for people to find. We had an elderly resident that stayed there for most of the summer, which generated a few ambulance calls, which led to us going in there more than we normally do. So it highlighted the problem. So we've begun that discussion and we effectively we're already aware that we're gonna need to name some of the roads in there and that whole thing is gonna need to be addressed. As it currently stands, there is 1 mailbox number for the entirety of the Jolly Roger Road, and then they are labeled by cabin. And the cabin numbers are here, there. They don't really make too much sense. They're hard to distinguish, they're not well marked. Everything is super close together, super tight roads. Us going in there with an ambulance or a fire truck is a nightmare. Because we ultimately need permission from each cabin owner to make any changes. There's 2 methods you can do. You can do a voluntary or you can do an involuntary. Involuntary sounds bad, but you do that through a public hearing. So when we talked, Caitlin and I met with Zach from E911. He's kind of heading up all these projects and guiding us in the right direction with a lot of it. We've decided the best way forward from here we want to establish a meeting and allow the folks that reside at Jolly Roger Village to come to this office for a meeting. Doesn't need to be during a selectmen's meeting, it could be an off night or whatever. Obviously, if the board chooses to attend, we could call it a work session, whatever. But allow them to have a discussion. We've kind of already decided where the road boundary should be and which one should be a different road name. I think Zach said 3 different road names throughout the property.
Do you have a map of that place?
Um,
I know Rebecca was talking.
I have a rudimentary map from E911 and it doesn't,
Match.
it's not gonna help understand anything. He's working on better maps for us. It was very difficult. He had to go measure everything down there and write it down by hand because there's no cell service. So he couldn't use any of his tablet apps or anything to develop the maps. But we want to invite them all in for a meeting. We're gonna reach out to the property manager and announce that. We're hoping to do that within the next week or two. Get them in here, talk to them, give them the freedom to choose the road names if they want. You know, if they can agree on the road names, then so be it. We don't need to decide that for them. But just try to get everybody on board. We'll then need to hold an actual public hearing during a meeting to approve the changes. We want to give them that opportunity first, so it's not like a slap in the face type of thing to them. It's a, work with us to fix the problem. We've already penciled in the public hearing for November 11th during the Board of Selectmen meeting.
No, that's Veterans Day.
Okay.
Public's, that was 11/12.
Okay, I'm sorry, Zach put in the email wrong. So 11/12, my apologies.
A large number of those people live out.
We moved the selectmen's meeting?
That's gonna be an issue.
We got a selectmen's
Oh, is that
meeting.
what you just said?
Yes.
November
It has to be
11.
during the Selectmen's meeting.
11/11 is Monday, which is Veterans Day. Tuesday is 11/12.
Oh,
I apologize, it was wrong on.
So you're gonna have to do it in a selectmen's
As
meeting?
far as meeting with, sorry,
Go ahead.
as far as meeting with the residents that are there, I'm guessing 100% of them are gone.
And we did have that discussion as well, and unfortunately, we don't wanna wait till next year till they're all back.
I'm just thinking about the day of the week that we
So
have this meeting.
that meeting, we don't have a day determined for. The 11/12 is the public hearing, that's the actual hearing. The meeting prior to that, we were gonna give them kind of some freedom to choose a day that works.
I was just gonna suggest a shoot for a Saturday.
And I also, we did mention that a weekend might be best, so we were gonna kind of put that out there and have them poll their members and see what's best. But we can also put a Microsoft Teams meeting with this camera system in place, so if they're in a different state or whatever, they can, Zoom or Teams into the meeting and be able to speak still. So we wanted to offer that and give them the opportunity, even if they can't physically be here, to have their input heard. So, I gotta reach out to Saban. I was hoping to do that today, but time got away from me. So I'm gonna reach out to Saban tomorrow, and he's the property manager for Jolly Roger. Have him kind of start getting in touch with the people and find out what works best and get back to me as soon as possible.
I'm just thinking. I thought originally we were going to do a meeting with the people. We wanted to give it a little bit of time so that they could attend, which was going to be the 13th or the 14th. And then we were gonna have a public hearing on an off day because of the budget
I'm
presentation.
sorry, I'm relying on somebody else's notes. Let me go back to mine.
I was just looking for mine and I don't know. Very happy to hop off to.
Yeah, so we were way off. I apologize. I misspoke. The public hearing we had selected December 10th for. Somewhere around the week of the 11th was when we were looking to have the meeting to talk to them, not the public hearing. So I do apologize for that confusion. The public hearing, 12:10 during the selectmen's meeting. And then the other meeting would be the week of November 11th. So that'll give us some time.
Selectmen's meeting the 10th, right? December?
Correct, 12:10. And the goal with all of this is to have the new addressing in place in the 911 system for the start of 2025.
Which would be January 8th.
The actual go live date would be January 8th because it has to line up with the state's mapping normal schedule of release. So January 8th is our projected go live date to have all this modified so that when they arrive back for next year's season, we're all set.
Work cut out.
Yep.
You done?
I'm done.
Where are we at on burn permits?
As far as,
They're all pulled, right, suspended?
They are currently suspended for fire danger, yes.
I just want to take that opportunity to.
Thank you. That was something I put out on the Facebook page that we suspended burning. We've been in the very highs lately. We did have a red flag on Sunday, so we're monitoring that, but yeah, no burning at the moment until the fire danger comes down.
Tonight, rain.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Is
I just
Rebecca,
reached out to Rebecca.
wanna do one of the selectmen reports first? Or is she coming in, or,
She just left, so she should be coming over.
alright,
You want me to go through mine, since mine will be pretty
yeah,
quick?
please.
Okay. Alright, so I don't have much. Last week I did work from home, as I had an illness. Before that, we did the Access GIS demo, which I wanted to print out tonight for the proposal. I know I had forwarded it to you guys. I thought about while we were sitting here that we could have discussed it at tonight's meeting. I don't know if you wanna go ahead and discuss that for, the budget presentation for, next meeting when we go through 4130 and 4152, cause I don't remember which one we discussed that would come out of. I think we said 4130.
That's
But-
assessing.
4130 is executive, 4152 is assessing. So I couldn't remember which one we discussed, but if you wanna discuss it at that time during the budgets, we can include that there, if we choose to go with them. While I was working from home last week, I had used, NHMA's wonderful system. They have some recorded webinars. One that I frequently keep missing is the Hard Road to Travel, which was very knowledgeable, so I took that last week while I was at home. As JT said, we'll be having a meeting with Consolidated eventually to discuss the timeline for the changes. I'm reading my notes here. Finance software has been signed up and finalized, so hopefully we'll be getting moving. We'll start the what they call G-Works University, so we learn the software and get ready on that. I did have a neighboring town selectman reach out to me regarding the Steelmaster shed at the transfer station, the salt sand shed. He had some questions as they're looking into it, and they wanted to discuss the size and cost.
Was that the one on, 25?
Yeah, it's one on
Oh,
25, it's not a
sorry,
transfer station.
sorry, they never said which one, I think I was thinking transfer station. So they were looking in regards to size and cost for just recommendations as they're gonna be looking at that.
That was
I don't
about
know when
7
it was.
years ago, 8 years ago?
$79,000. We could have got it for almost half of that, but, cause at the same time, we did a cost share thing. Town of Wakefield to get that company that was up there was erecting them. Wakefield got theirs for right around 42 or 44,000, ours was right around 80, just under 80, so.
And do you know what the size is for it, roughly?
I remember we were able to pull some of the paperwork for that.
Oh, okay, then I haven't gotten to look
I
at it
think,
today,
I
but
think
I'll-
there's paperwork in there, some of the
Okay.
plans and some of the other stuff I believe is in there.
Okay,
Looks like
I'll
about
look.
36 by 40 or 50 or something like that.
I'll take a peek, I didn't get a chance to look at it today, but I thought about it while I was sitting here.
I mean, they can take a ride and measure it themselves too. Is it the area of town?
It was Parsonsfield,
Yeah, they can just take a ride to it.
I can let them know that too.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we, have our new assessing clerk, and she will be starting next Tuesday. So everything has come back, and we have an official start date of next Tuesday, which is a reminder that's the general election, so I know you three will be over at the school, so.
You gonna be there this time?
Yeah, I thought I'd hang around.
Not taking vacation?
No, I'll hang around for this. I'm counting afterwards too.
Can you count? What's it like?
1, 2. Yeah, I actually had Carol verify it. She asked me and I said, you gotta verify it. So she went to Concord. Selectmen can count.
Okay.
And then that was my last thing.
Becca,
Yes,
please. Any highlights?
let's see. No, nothing major, pretty simple report here, I just have
Pretty,
to.
pretty quiet.
Pretty quiet, it slowed down even more, so far I'm at, 4 permits for the month of October. So,
Wow.
considerably slower.
Yeah.
And this, we're at just about the end of the month, this is late for me to be reported. But there isn't really anything, critical to talk about. Let's see, there's a blank here on the report, partway down that said planning board change of use, health officer over on the right, that's going through, that's the folks with the big, building up the corner of, they put in, they'd always planned to put in a couple of apartments up above, but since they hadn't done that when they started it, it went to the planning board initially as a non-residential use, and now it's gone back to residential. So that's 2 garage units or 2 multiple garage units below and 2 residential units up above. So technically a 2-family. So, and when you look at the gaps of the permits written, that you see the gap there, and that's the only reason that hadn't gone through
Okay.
at that point. Looking forward to working with the new assessing clerk. I know Caitlin knows that I'm worried that we're behind in getting everything caught up in the property files, and there's a fair amount of stuff that the assessing clerk has done in the past with current use work and mapping work and stuff like that. So beyond just Avatar, there's a bunch of other stuff that we're gonna be working on, trying to get all collected in. And I was actually going through one of the boxes of stuff that came from the assessing clerk desk. There's a bunch of 911 stuff in there. Some big charts and stuff like that. So next Tuesday, when we have this room to ourselves and we haul stuff out and stuff like that, we'll see what from the 911 stuff got put in that box, and maybe we can work on the information channel for how 911 information gets back into the property files, because once the 911 number is assigned, it needs to go back into, it needs to go into Avatar as a street number. And when David was doing it, it was the same person that was assigning the street number and managing Avatar, so there's a communication thing that has to happen there.
That won't be a problem.
Oh, I'm sure not.
So-
I made a cheat sheet of all the stuff, based on working with Gwen and then working with David, that office person had always done, to make sure that we didn't lose anything in the cracks.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Chris, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Caitlin, you're all set?
Well, I was easy.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. See you in a couple of weeks for the next one.
Oh, yes.
Yes, sir.
That gentleman came here on your advice to speak with us? Is that true?
I don't know who this gentleman is.
Did you say the zoning officer directed you to us?
Oh, I'm Brenda Lee's
Oh, yes,
husband.
yes, he did come on my advice. I'm
Okay.
happy to.
Do you wanna
Did you wanna
just do
give
that
him
now?
Yeah, let's do that. I don't want you to wait around too much.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll stay here to provide opinion.
Sorry, it won't take too much time, but
That's okay.
me and my wife bought a piece of land on Morris Avenue, and we intended on building a 2-bedroom, 1-bath ranch. She got 3 types of cancer as soon as we bought the place, and she's been out of the hospital all summer long, which delayed everything we had going on with getting a building permit and everything. We've been through the camping 5-month thing that you allowed, we did that, and then she was nice enough to give us an extension of another 7 weeks, which ends tomorrow. And for the last month, we've been trying to rent just to get out of there until next year and give us time to build. And the housing market's crap. We've been trying everything, I mean, the whole state, we didn't just try to stay in the area, and we still haven't been able to find any place to rent.
Can I interrupt? So you got an RV on that property right now?
Yeah.
Okay,
With the seasonal use permit that's
Right.
approved.
Yeah,
okay.
and at this point, with her cancer, she's so stressed out about what we're gonna do, we just don't know what to do at this point. Tomorrow's the 30th, it's the last day we're supposed to be there, and we just have no place to go, and she's on 24-hour oxygen. And I just don't know if there's anything you could do to help us out with just a little more time, or I just don't know.
So you have a septic system, or how do you?
No, I have no septic design, we have D&K comes every month, and the porta potty company, and they pump us out. We have a contract with them monthly so far, and I can extend it longer if we were allowed to stay there a bit longer.
Based on the medical, I'm okay, what I'm saying.
Want to say that a little louder?
Oh, I'm sure they heard it.
Yeah. Okay,
I agree.
agree. I agree too.
If you can continue looking,
Oh, she's right now on the
Nope,
phone.
but-
It's
but-
really bad out there to find a place to live.
Oh, we
right now.
understand.
It really
we're,
is.
we're not gonna kick you out tomorrow.
Okay, so where do I go from here? Just,
How much time you want to give them?
Yeah, we need a,
So I was gonna ask, what
So-
would be a standard procedure in that?
So, in this situation, we'll backtrack a little bit, in this situation where someone is planning to build, usually, what we've tried to do is get all the pieces in place, with the septic design and a building design. With those in place, I can grant someone a 1-year temporary occupancy permit for the RV, that's how our zoning ordinance is written. Is if you have a septic design, not installed, but a septic design and a house design, and we're more careful about it now to make sure it's not just, that there actually is a design there and a plan to build. Then it buys someone who's using the RV, seasonally, it buys them a year to build the house.
which is what our plan
Which is
was,
their plan is,
but everything's just got thrown.
everything has been delayed, including the fact that that's the property that needs to be flagged for wetlands.
Yeah,
So there are 3 things that are required here before I could issue a building permit. The septic, before I could issue a temporary occupancy, the septic design, the wetlands flagging, and the building permit.
okay.
Because-
Finished.
Yeah, so,
Do you have running water to the camper?
We pour water in and then they suck it back out when they
Okay.
come.
And obviously you have electric there?
We have a generator.
Okay, so do you have a method of keeping it warm enough?
Oh, yes, we
Okay.
have gas furnace and all that, it's not a question of that, it was just a time limit.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure from a safety perspective you had.
Yeah, it's an
What you
up-to-date
needed to be
camper with a
safe.
good furnace.
So what's the time period it'll be good for you to have all those 3 things done?
I'm working with the people now that she's been out of the hospital a while, I've been able to save up money, I probably 3 or 4 weeks I can have the septic design into the state, but then it takes another 21 days to get approved by the state.
Okay, so, and the building permit, the building design?
you have a design for the building.
I'm just gonna do a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, I'll just design
Yes,
my
okay.
own little
We'd
ranch.
need some kind of sketches.
Right,
Okay.
and wetlands?
That's all involved, I got a wetlands guy, Bob, what the hell is his name? I can't think of his last name right now, but he's out of Ware, and he's delayed me 3 times, he's set a date, and then the day before, he'll text me and say, oh, I can't make it up this week.
So if we give you 3 months to get all these,
Oh, I'll knock it out of the park if you can help us with that, cause
Good.
this.
3 months, and then you'll have your
this is
year.
hard on my wife.
yeah, then you'll have a year to get your building up.
Alright, I really
You
appreciate
agree with
that.
Yeah, I'm just, so January,
That's end of January, you wanna
end
do
of
that?
January?
I mean, that
End of
puts us right
January?
into snow season, I was gonna suggest end of December, but that's, I mean,
Last year, we didn't have snow in January.
what I said was this is a hardship case and,
That's
come to
when,
the plan, come to the
I'm
board of
good.
selectmen.
3 months.
3 months,
90 days.
90 days.
That's awesome, I appreciate it, thank you, my wife can calm down a little bit now.
Alright,
Okay,
Have a
good
good
luck.
night.
Come in.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
Good luck.
Okay,
Thank
what
you.
I'll do, I'm gonna mail you guys out a 3 months extension
Alright,
on the RV permit.
sounds
thank you
good.
very much.
Thank you,
Thank you, Rebecca.
thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
And I did a little bit, I tried to forward some possible housing options to them too, but,
Thank you.
thank you.
So it looks like our
The,
appointment is not here.
The charter school people didn't come?
Oh, yeah, you weren't here for that, so,
They didn't come.
no, they're,
They backed out of the house.
Oh, of that place?
They did, or the seller?
The seller did.
Oh, okay, thanks for that info.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
which is kind of, I'm not in favor of the education voucher system, but, because it has its flaws. I won't get into that soapbox right now.
All right, well,
Not a
selectmen's
subject we
report.
even need to get into.
Can I make one more statement?
Yeah, oh, please.
I apologize. I did the Chris tonight. I forgot something. Chris and I attended the Governor Wentworth Matrix meeting. I'm sorry, I'm taking your thunder too. The MOU for Freedom and Effingham with the shelter sharing situation was signed by the school district tonight. So I just got to get a signature from the fire chief, and we are good. In addition, the town of Ossipee approached me to do the same thing. I think we talked about this at the last
We
meeting.
mentioned it, yes.
The Ospey Emergency Management Director, who's also the Center Ospey Fire Chief, attended with us tonight. They signed the same agreement for Ospey. So the 3 towns are now sharing the shelter,
This shelter here?
the Effingham shelter, yes. So we're gonna work on logistics and supplies and staffing and all that good stuff in the months to come.
And generator.
I'm not gonna talk about generators, so I don't take all of Chris's thunder. He can talk about generators.
All right, so, on that point, why don't we just jump in with Chris since he's, and you can jump in your generator.
All right, well, because we're on that, I'll skip down to that part. So at that meeting, and one of the things we've been trying to iron out was who's gonna pay for what and what we actually need. So we're all very familiar with the issues that arose. The generator doesn't cover everything that's currently there. There's not an automatic switch. And what the long-term and short-term answers are and solutions. So short-term is the school district is going to update some electrical so that the bathroom lights come on and some sort of electrical outlet in the kitchen, like a drop, if you will, so they can plug their appliances in, so extension cords aren't run to the isolated outlets that do come on when the generator comes on. That stops the fire danger things and tripping hazards and things like that. That's the short term right now. The pricing on the automatic switch, transfer switch was I don't have those exact figures, but $2,300 just for the switch, $4,300 installed through generator connections. I'm sorry, not generator connections. So then the conversation went to the age of the generator, which is toward the end of its life expectancy. So, a new generator as it stands, which our representative to the school board, Mr. Pittman, who is the chair, if you will, of the building committee, had a recommendation, absolutely makes sense, that when you replace old with new, and new is the exact same size, the only benefit is it's new. So from a maintenance standpoint and longevity, that's your only benefit. It's not bigger. So as far as like adding anything to it, because we're at max capacity with what it fires up now. But, and you say, well, they're running extension cords. Well, that's still, those extension cords still put that load on it, so that's what's up now. So when they do these temporary fixes, the short-term fixes, it's still gonna be the same load. So, you know, what would be expectancy? So I brought back to them that would look at the expendable trust fund, which we have, after we, before the end of the year, take the money and from the unreserved fund balance and put that into that ETF, we will have $30,373.94 in the generator. We have 3 generators that we take care of, one here, fire station, and the school. The fire station one got damaged, and we're fortunate the insurance company is taking care of that one. So I would propose that we would consider writing a warrant article to replace the generator at the school this year. If that happens, it sounds to me like they will pay for the switch.
How
Any of
much
the,
is- how
any
much
of the
is a
costs.
generator?
Well, so the generator as it stands right now would take all of this $30,000. Now, we still have to have a conversation with the two towns that just signed MOUs to see if they would be willing to pony up some more money. Ideally, what they would like to see is us increase that size. What that is, in as far as like wattage, do we go from a 48 or 50,000, does that jump in increments of 25, so we just go to a 75 and then to 100 and so forth? There was some conversations, just so we have numbers and thought process. The town of Tuftonboro was there, their captain, they were also there today, furthering along their conversation. They got support to put a town of Tuftonboro purchased generator on the school's property, so they didn't have the trailer system. I think I touched on that before. One of the things that they did, they looked at a generator before, which was propane fired. It was an 80K generator, which would do that entire school, including the HVAC. And with the transfer switch, the total cost was $84,000. I'm not necessarily saying we need to go that big, but the HVAC is what gives the biggest load. Obviously, you would want the heat source, whatever, primarily. In the summertime, you may want the air conditioning, but they don't have air conditioning there.
Only in the office area.
Only in the office area, so it's
Is the school willing to, pony up any money?
the transfer switch.
And it almost seemed, the superintendent didn't really seem willing to budge. She was kind of like, well, it serves the shelter, so we're good. It seems at least one member of the committee was kind of like, well, if we're gonna do this, it makes sense to future-proof it and upgrade it. And I made the statement, why couldn't there be a cost share? The reality of it is, the generator benefits the school way more than it benefits the town. Yes, we have our need, but what's its real use? What's the realistic use? Every time the power goes out, they kick it on to keep the school up, right? Versus.
And
It would keep their heat and their air going.
Well, they don't have to close the school either.
Well, for conversation purposes, through the meetings that we've had and historically, they say, well, if power's out and you're in these storms, whatever, we're not in school anyway, the kids go home. My position in that is our kids are in the safest buildings in their communities when we're in a storm situation. So why are we rushing to send them home and be on the roads and stuff like that? If we can house them, and of course, you take like Center Ospey or Ospey Central School, they don't have a generator at all. So, and she gave the example, and I said, well, okay, well, I like to play devil's advocate, just give an example, is we had one storm event in April. The generator came on, we used it for a shelter. The time before that, or the time after that it came on, was a school event. The graduation ceremony, that was a school event, that wasn't ours. And she's like, well, but historically, they balk at the cost share. It's the town and.
So I'd rather see us properly size a generator for that building, for whatever equipment's in it and what the need is. And then if we've got 3 towns that are using that as an EMS shelter, have a discussion with all 3 towns about 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think if it's us, if it's purely us and they're not cost sharing it, my opinion would be we outfit what we need for the shelter with some room to expand, but I don't think we should power the whole school for them.
And to power that whole school, because what are their titles, Phil and Sarah? They're building maintenance,
maintenance,
whatever. So basically, to do the entire school, you're looking at a 100K generator. So a 100K generator, there was still some conversation going back and forth, but there was a belief that once you get into 100K, you get beyond propane, and now it's oil or diesel and $100,000 plus dollars.
And I'm good with that conversation too, Chris, but from a standpoint of need, our need has basically been in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
So there's gonna be heat. So can we portion it just to say we're only gonna heat the gym and
Well,
the
to
bathroom?
be clear, that is currently how it works. The
That's
heat,
how- that's
the
how
heat
it's-
to the entire building is not currently powered.
Correct.
Okay,
The section that we use is what's powered,
okay.
and
But
because some of it's hot
Minus the
water.
bathrooms.
Okay, but that would provide us heat to that
To
section,
what we need.
and the rest of the school would be,
Because I brought that up during
Okay.
our walkthrough, I said, April, thankfully it wasn't terribly cold for that whole storm, but you get down to the far end, they got water down there. There's running water down there,
so if
There's
pipe
no
breaks
heat.
down there, does it impact the rest of the building?
probably not.
No, there's an isolation. So the way that building was built, it was built for future expansion if need be.
Okay,
So it's almost like there's two buildings in one,
all right,
the way it is
Yep.
now. And
Okay.
so you go down that corridor past the office, and when the hallway goes like this, that's the split.
yeah, but I would rather properly size it for.
For what we're using, yes.
Yeah, for what we're using,
And the air conditioning does work now, like all of that stuff
Right.
is powered as we sit today. And that's where the majority of that load comes from.
And
But with
it-
future, and like they said, the future technology is becoming more and more.
Yep.
So that is more of a load on the electrical. So why just replace exactly what you have? So I'm not saying we need to
Oh,
go
no,
100
I
grand
get
or
that.
even 80K. If we can get like a 60K or, cause we have a 50, so we can get like a 60 or 70. And we're looking at $40,000 or $50,000, and we can get some money from the two towns that just signed MOUs, then that's what I would be looking for, and the school district continuing to let us utilize it as a shelter and doing the transfer switch and not ask for too much.
Yeah.
Because my fear is we ask for too much,
Oh, yeah.
and
I
the school
agree.
board in a whole
Say
is
no.
gonna
Yep.
say no to everything.
Yep.
So,
so properly sizing what the need is for today,
right.
then, as Chris just said, try and look at some of the what ifs.
If
Is
we're
there any
just-
discussion about putting the stove back in?
That's propane though, there's no
Okay.
electric involvement there,
All
aside
right,
from
but
maybe
you
an
get the
igniter.
hood, that range hood is gonna draw some juice. So from a sizing standpoint,
Yeah,
it's taking a look at the use factors of the refrigerators, the hood. It's what's there today, plus here are the things we're gonna need, and then, as Chris said, go with a number beyond that, but reasonably beyond that.
and the punch list that we had come up with when we did a walkthrough a few months ago, and we came up with a punch list of what we wanted to add before we knew we were at capacity. Aside from the bathrooms and the freezers, nothing else benefited the town. The rest of what we were gonna power was their servers, their security cameras, their computers, that type of stuff. So as we sit today, with the modification for the freezers and with the modification for the bathrooms, at 50 kW, we're where we need to be, with no room to expand. So a 60 or a 70 gives us a little bit of room to expand something potentially in the future, but we're already sitting where we need to be, we just don't have any room to grow. So,
And the growth would be like any necessary communication things, like Phil brought up that, Red Cross had reached out to them, and they wanted to put up a,
because the servers don't work, there was no Wi-Fi in the building while we were there, so they had to use, cell phone hotspots and things like that to
yeah, like
connect.
a hotspot, it's an antenna thing, but they couldn't power it, cause
Right.
they did, but they
Yeah.
did it from one
But that's what I'm saying,
isolated outlet.
what's here, but then look at the things like the hood, like the power for
Right.
cell.
Well, not double it necessarily, just
No,
add a little bit
but-
more.
But,
Yeah, you're
but you
not
can come up with the wattage needed for that,
Yeah.
which will then give you your next level requirement. And as you just said, then go above that to.
Right.
And it could be, it could be 60, 65 is the requirement, and 80 is the top we can go with an LP. 80 might make sense to go,
Right, and what's the price difference between them? Is it $500 or is it $5 grand?
it's not
You know.
that big when you start getting at that level.
It's 50 there now, right?
Yeah, it's
It's 50 there now for 30,000, but when you get up to an 80, it's 80,000, it's 84,000.
Right.
So it more than doubles.
At some point, there's a
Yeah, I think so.
sharp increase.
Yeah, it's 60, another 10.
And I would say have discussions with the other towns and find out what they might be willing to do, cause
Yep.
you
And I mean, the chief was there and he's like, we can have that conversation. That was one chief, that was the emergency management director, the chief. He said, yeah, absolutely, we can have that conversation, so.
And I
Well,
won't speak for freedom, but I
at
don't
this
foresee a
stage,
problem.
you got time for warrant articles. So it's like size the sucker, get generator connection up here, size it with the what ifs, and as Chris said, size it with an expectation above it.
Right.
Get a number, get the three towns together and say, is everybody in a discussion item? A third, and get it on the warrant articles for next year.
Right.
But, I mean, given I don't wanna sound like we're, in a crunch, but, given it's 21 years old, that's there. We know what happened to this generator, we had issues with that generator, the same time we had this one with the pressure switch, and it was leaking. And then obviously we all know what happened at the fire station. So I think we should still focus on, a warrant article for 2025 to replace that generator. So we'll try to expedite, these answers, these questions and researching, which it appears Liam's already doing.
Well, yeah, because right now it's 60K, KW, you're looking at 21,000 for 60 KW. That's a generator. 21.
So we'll just get some numbers, we can do that within the next,
Well, and Generator Connection already did the they're the ones that came up with the load percentage already, so they already know what's there, you know.
Right.
So it should be a pretty simple,
Yeah, everything's $21,000, $22,000 for this.
and worst case scenario, I mean, it looks like, you know, per the budget committee last meeting, we're going to have, we're shooting for roughly a $200,000 savings account, for lack of a better word, that we can take to offset some of these expenses. Maybe we bump that a little bit more, so we're not completely draining that, have the conversation with the other towns and focus on getting that generator changed in 2025. And this, like, they wanna pay for the switch, but they wanna pay for the switch and then we upgrade the generator and then that switch is obsolete and then somebody's gotta pay for that.
No, I'm.
So we do it all at once.
Yep.
And they were in
Just
agreeance of
let-
that, but basically it's
Let them pay for the transfer.
that
switch,
$5,000
whatever.
transfer switch, they would be willing to
Get
pony
a,
up,
get a
so.
quote from generator.
I will, I'll get a couple of quotes with different sizing and whatnot, so.
Yeah.
So that's the generator, we beat that to death. So, crack sealing is done on, in case we missed that, I think we might have talked about that at last meeting, but the crack sealing's been done, per the warranty, from GMI on Elm Street. The culvert patch is done on High Watch Road, that was done last
Thursday?
Thursday,
I think it was Thursday.
Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, they,
It was really
were
nice.
supposed to be there
that-
Wednesday.
Right. Culvert got replaced on Simon Hill Road today. They were in the process of cleaning and flushing culverts. They called the fire department was coming out to flush a culvert and they were able to get it to self-flush or clean out, so they canceled them. In that process on Simon Hill Road in the area of the former Dr. Downs, it's about halfway between the Ospey Town line and where Molly Fibrick Road comes out. There's a large culvert there, that had failed and there was a sinkhole. That's why they were up that way. So Kevin said it needed to be replaced. This is a sinkhole. We have a culvert at the transfer station, so they replaced that today. Ron did state that Teresa I did ask while had him on the phone, about a bill, cause we haven't seen one in a couple of months.
I got 23 invoices yesterday.
Okay, so he said,
Now-
yes, she sent them to you, so.
They did, and I can't remember, and you could probably refresh my memory here. I know the last time they had emailed, we had issues with double bills. Do you know if they're going to be mailing them too? I know
I-
they should be if they got material, because those online do not have the slips.
Should probably review them before we.
Yeah, I will, crap. Well,
I
that
tried
won't be on there, that's not on this manifest
It's
anyway.
not on this
So Thursday, can you dig that stuff out Thursday and,
I have them all in one folder
okay,
to keep them
I'll
separate.
paw through them Thursday when I
Okay.
get here. But I believe per our discussion, we met with them, they're only gonna do email, correct?
I couldn't remember.
But that wouldn't work because
We
of
wouldn't,
the
we wouldn't
slips.
get the material slips.
We need the materials.
Slips.
So I'll look to see what they are,
PDF.
yeah.
They're good as long as I get every email, and I think that was an issue with the last time.
On Saturday, I went to the fire station, tried to get Mike there, but he was unfortunately out of the area. Mike Pakulski is a member of the, building committee, if you will. He did, meet up with me Friday and give me, the drawings that his son had done up. He said, I got some sketches, I should have known better, I was thinking it was gonna be a drawing, but, they were like architectural plans and rolled right out and laid out. Because I had as I stated, a Leicester Building representative there, that's gonna price that out. I believe I got that email today. Unfortunately, I haven't been home yet to receive that, but more to follow on that. And met with a contractor in regards to the roads. Identify some areas in my roads project to what need to be boxed out. We did some measuring on the culverts on High Watch Road. I know I did talk about that a little bit, about how deep the culverts are and what we do moving forward. Unfortunately, that is gonna be a huge expense, and they do need to be replaced. The one that's just below the last hill before you go to the treatment center, is a 3-foot culvert. The bottom of it is very rusty. It is in, not in the greatest shape. It's to the top of the culvert, it's between 12 and 13 feet from the shoulder in height, so we'll say 13 feet from the road to the top of the culvert, so it is pretty deep. A lot of boulders. That's gonna be a pretty costly undertaking. He was estimated in the vicinity of $50,000 to $60,000 a piece to replace those 3 larger, deeper culverts. So, that could be anywhere between $100,000 and $200,000 expense just for those 3 culverts on that one road. But if we're gonna do the road, it needs to be done, so. Why are you looking at me like that?
No, I'm just thinking, no, just literally just on that.
So I mean, like that.
I know a couple of them are like really deep, if I remember correctly, too.
Yeah, so that's the deepest one.
Yeah, there's a drop.
Yeah, so there's one between 158 and Sarah's Courteous Canines, then that one. Those are the 2 deepest ones. There's one back in the area 144, which is the second hill when you come up.
Is water running through those right now?
Yeah, all 3 of them.
It broke.
They're not just seasonal runoff, they're actual water going through them, so.
It's like mine.
But they, so that's a costly thing, so just for a mindset for that rough, just rough estimate of those, that breakdown I gave, as far as expenses goes. As far as like engineering, I had the conversation with them, it's like, best case scenario, we have all of our roads engineered, right? And then you have a plan, you take that out for doing an RFP. That would be $1 million plus. So, he said, anybody that's gonna be bidding on this, they know dirt work, they can isolate and identify, so we identified the worst areas. He's like, you worked on roads long enough, you identified those areas. He said, so like Pine River Road, when we met with the contractors and said, how deep we gonna go? And initially I'd said 4 to 6 feet, and they can't have that variation because the cost difference in 4 to that 2 feet is tremendous, especially when you're going 27 feet wide, you're going thousands of feet. It's a difference between $40,000 of gravel or $80,000 of gravel, or material, we'll say. And sometimes you can have material that's in the roadbed that they want, they can rescreen it, so they're gonna give you some for it. There's a trade value to that. They're taking that material out, what we consider bad, minus the boulders, they'll put it in a pile and run it through the screen. So let's just say they give us, $50 a yard, they're selling us back, gravel at $100 a yard, well, we're only paying 50 as opposed to the 400, right? The best way to identify that is boring. We can do test boring a lot cheaper. So we identify the areas that need to be boxed out, do test boring, find out exactly how deep you have to go in each section before you get to a solid base, and what type of materials are there to see if there's anything that's worth any. And he said that would be your most cost-effective way of moving forward with this project. Identify the area, do a test boring, a couple of test borings in each one of those areas, and then you would know for sure what's there and how deep you have to go. And that is the simplest and most effective way, cost and time, to move forward the road project. So I am going to, I've already identified a couple of people, a couple of vendors that are going to be attending the NHMA conference that I'm leaving to as soon as I leave here. Go home and finish packing. I've already identified and reached out through email to a couple of vendors that do this type of thing, the test boring and this sort of thing, so I'll get their contact information and get, pricing and stuff like that and move forward on that. And street signs, hopefully within the next 2 weeks, I asked the vendor to expedite the, street signs. I know this office, gets, at least one email a week, seems like, on what's the status of a street sign. The road agent has reached out, has identified some areas where school bus stop sign heads are required. It just so happens I had already identified those as well. There's 3 locations on Townhouse Road alone, and 1 on Pine River Road. 2 on Townhouse Road, 1 on Pine River. That's right, per our conversation. Those are on order. I did call them, I added 2, because I thought I told you 6, but I looked at my order sheet and I only ordered 4. So I added 2 more today, so.
I told her I'd speak to you about it, so.
Yeah. But we should see that. I said, am I gonna see him before we can't drive a signpost in the ground? And he said, oh yeah, so.
Okay, you drive a post in now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And
just put the,
yeah.
then attach it.
Well, so I thought about that, and this was my fear, is I've asked everybody to let me know if you see the bandits that strike. So I'm afraid that my email and the phone's gonna ring off the hook, people will be like, hey, you guys just put a sign up, just post this, somebody already stole the sign.
Yeah.
Good point.
So I was just thinking about that too, I'm like, oh, we could drive the post in now, but, so, and I think that's all I have.
Chuck?
All right, so I got good news, in the last couple of days, one of the grants that I wrote earlier this month, we managed to get, approved for $30,000. So Caitlin, can you schedule at our next selectmen's meeting, a public hearing for 30? And you'll have the check and the letter from the foundation.
Okay, so just if you could,
Yep,
just let me know the organization itself, unless you have that right now, but,
I don't wanna do it until I've got the letter in my hand, okay?
alright, because I have to,
I will give you that information, but I don't wanna do it in public until I get.
Doesn't have to.
so what I'll have to
good.
do is do the
Careful.
advertisement.
Yep,
And to do the advertisement, I have to have it in for at least 10 calendar days.
okay,
So if not, I could also do it for, not the 12th, but,
actually, I think,
the
I think the check was
20th if
cut
needed.
yesterday. So we may actually have the check within the next day or 2 with the letter,
Yeah.
so, but I'll get you that information.
Yeah, if you could just get that to me so I could be
Okay,
prompt and get that in there, but
Alright.
usually with the advertisement.
So we got 14 days, so you got 4 days to get that.
yep, which I think it'll be here, actually. Yeah, so that 30,000 will go toward the, renovations of the bathrooms of the library and part of the 2025 project. And the 2025 project, I'll be working, getting the advertising out with Caitlin later this week to do a mandatory site visit at the library and then an RFP for bids to come in prior to year end for 2025 preservation work. So there'll be the project size, and the rough estimates we have right now is gonna be up about $250,000 for that total project. Talus Restoration, Historic Restoration, window guys are coming in next week rather than after Thanksgiving. So we should have our second and third floor windows completely done. Street dance on the 19th was a success. I was notified that the library may have an issue with its well. There was sucking some dirt for a couple of days into the toilet bowls when they were flushed. Lately, that hasn't shown, so I'm gonna keep an eye on that, but we may actually have to look into having a look at that to see where we're at. Consolidated started moving the fiber today, in preparation for next year's work. So the internet, we're working on getting that back up and running. They were not able to get it running today, so that's what I'm doing when I leave here tonight. The annual inspection for the LCHIP grant, is due within a couple weeks. And I have it a little over half done right now. I need to wait till the windows are done, so once the windows are done, then I can submit that, which will then get us another portion of our, first part of our grant for the L-chip for reimbursement of our portion of that, expense that we've already incurred for 2024. So, that's all at this point.
The 48,000 we're gonna do for voucher for,
Yeah, there'll be a voucher, I'm gonna do a voucher for $48,168.05, which will,
so I'll get you a check this week.
which
And
will,
I'll set up the public hearing for,
we can do it at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I want,
As the
to
other
make sure
one.
we
Yep.
do both.
Do 'em both.
and only because Chuck had just brought up something with the bathrooms at the library. It just made me think of, I know I reached out to you, I think last week. We still haven't heard from that gentleman. I know Michelle did what he asked for pictures or what he needed. In this,
So she did talk to him,
yes,
and he asked for pictures and stuff.
correct, but we have not heard back further.
Yeah, because I told Michelle that he's in the middle of a major boiler
Oh, I wasn't
reinstall
aware of that,
at the
okay.
library in Ossipee,
Okay,
so he's been, you know,
so
that's a.
we are down one toilet at this moment,
Here?
yes.
I didn't realize.
So, when I was away, I guess one of the toilets just constantly ran. They had to shut off the water and turn it back on for it to stop. That one is currently out of order. We're not using it. We haven't had issues with any others. Someone knock on wood.
So it's the guts inside the toilet?
Huh?
It's the guts inside the toilet?
Probably, yeah.
It's easy to replace.
Yeah, I'm not aware,
He's gotta come for
but the water heater as well.
Oh, okay.
Cause the kitchen sink does not get hot. It gets hot for a couple minutes and then that's it.
What's
It's failing.
What was the other thing, that was Michelle saying? There's something else.
The anoid?
Anoid, yeah, that. That must be the heating element, is that what she's?
Yeah, the heating element, yeah. She thinks it's gone, or?
It's going, because when we go to wash dishes in there, you can't really, it stays hot or warm for a little bit and then it's gone.
It's probably 20 years old.
And that's the on-demand one, right?
It's the one that's right next to the
Yeah.
That little electric one,
Okay, yeah,
and there's a smell.
oh, it's horrible.
maybe worth, the reason
I
I'm
just
asking,
wanted to bring
maybe
it up.
worth updating it, just
Yeah,
because
change it out.
the quality of water here is so bad that it's probably, after many, many years, just eating the thing away.
Yeah.
But
So,
that's all I wanted to say, so you can continue, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Good.
What's my notes? Yeah, we're gonna have ask Caitlin for a work session for Thursday, transfer personnel policy in town building. Met with JP Pest last Friday, Thursday,
Thursday.
at the transfer station, so he's gonna set up for the critters, bait boxes to trap them, I guess, or whatever they do with them. So,
on that same vein, I know we've got some critters down there. I actually happened to talk to a couple of our townspeople at the street dance, on that side of town. And apparently there are a lot of rats,
well,
way more population than
And
rats.
it's in Carroll County, it's Carroll County wide, so.
Wide, okay.
yeah, it is, it's not just here, it's not
Okay.
because of the
Yeah.
transfer station.
So if you.
No, I knew that much, but there was just,
Yeah.
there's a major influx.
He explained to me, he said, basically, we had a warm winter, and usually they have a second batch. A lot of, if it's a cold winter, they die off, the young ones, they didn't die off this year,
Okay,
last winter, that's what he was saying.
yep, okay.
Okay, last item is, the old, at the waste, the transfer station, there's that, as you come into the transfer station, you got that little building. I guess he used to, Mark used to check the cars or whatever. They were asking if we can move that building to where I tore the shed down. So they can put their tools in.
As long as we have to have the power company come disconnect the power,
Oh, yeah, I know that,
okay?
but what I'm asking is, there won't be any power going to that shed when we put it in there.
No, I know, but I'm just,
I don't wanna put power to it.
well, no,
There's power in it, you're saying there's power in it now?
It's supposed to be.
there's a meter, there was a meter there, actually. at one
Yeah, there's a
point.
meter, but Mark said it was disconnected, but I kinda said,
As long as we check it out before we.
I'm gonna have Jeremy,
Yeah.
we should probably have the Eversource come in and take that meter out. If it's disconnected, the meter shouldn't be there. I think we're
You mean
probably,
a service meter
Yeah,
is inside that building?
no, it's on
no,
the
for the
outside.
building.
Oh.
But that's the only thing it does is brings electricity to that little building. So
That's
if
all
the
it
me-
was, yeah.
Yeah, so if the meter's there, it's still activated.
I don't know the answer to that question. All I know is there was separate juice there at one point
It is
and
still,
supposedly shut off.
So now I'm wondering if it wouldn't be more just cost effective if we as a board feel that it's necessary for them to have a shed in that location, just to go to shed connections or something and have one dropped.
I can,
I don't know how big that one is.
it's not that big and it's small enough for that location, but I know it's gonna cost you a couple $1,000 for a shed. This one's free.
Except for the expense, because Eversource ain't gonna come move that meter for nothing.
They don't want electricity.
I know, but
No, but
you
you
gotta
gotta
take
take
it off
the
the
one
building. They've gotta remove it.
They have to
They have to
remove it.
remove it from the building. We're gonna pay.
It's not on the building, it's on a pole by itself. It's on a panel by itself, away from the building.
Oh, it's on a pedestal, that's why I
Oh, okay.
said
I
there's
thought it
a
was
meter
on-
attached to the
No.
building.
I thought it was on the
no.
side of the building. Okay.
No,
Okay.
it's, and there's a tube basically with the wire running to the
Yeah.
shed.
Conduit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, conduit.
All right,
Oh.
then we just disconnect.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, but what I'm saying is that there's still an active meter, it
Just-
still generates.
Well, see, I thought it had been shut, we had requested to have it shut off.
Well,
at
if it's
one
shut
point.
off, they take the meter out.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm,
Not always,
No?
not always. Especially, I mean, if it was an old meter, it may be shut off, but they're gonna leave it because they've gone digital, the wireless.
yeah, I would
could
say,
have been beyond
at this
that.
point, if it's not on, just have Jeremy disconnect it at the building and we'll move the building.
Did you sneeze, bless you?
No, the cough.
All right.
Right, so you're in agreement to move the shed? I can move it with the tractor, I can pick it up with the forks, move it right to the road.
Sure.
It's not a Ford.
Yes.
Yeah,
We move it.
yeah, if we
Oh,
need
you'll
it,
probably need your help, but
if we need it, that,
I know. It's up to you guys, I mean, basically, I don't want, I want them to be walking around and observing everybody putting trash away, not taking stuff apart or working on lawnmowers.
I agree with that.
which do,
But,
I'm just making sure it's awake.
it's what?
Awake. It is recording, I do know that.
It was.
I took it off just for a minute. Yeah, I don't want those guys, you know, they got 2 or 3 tools they gotta bring over. So I kinda sort of like,
I don't see any juice to this at all.
I just turn it off.
You did, okay.
I don't, you know, because in case they're listening or whatever,
Mhm.
I don't see why we need to a certain extent. That's why I said I'm bringing it up to the selectmen.
Well, I think,
I've had comments that certain people were upset that they no longer have a shed.
From them workers.
It was not directly from the workers. It was at least secondhand, maybe thirdhand, but it came from the workers.
Oh, okay, oh, wow, alright.
so, I think you know how I feel, they're there for a minimum of 8 hours. You gotta walk to the shed, 100 feet.
Oh, to
If
the
that-
container?
To the container to grab a toolbox and lug it over there to have for the day to cut wires off and fans and,
Yeah,
I mean, the
What-
shed's there.
What's the purpose other than holding a toolbox? It'll end up holding junk just like it had before.
okay.
It'll gravitate.
Yeah, I mean, there's bolts that were there were anchor bolts there from the old shed, that's not even, that's settled and did this sort of number, so they're gonna wanna settle that up, it's gonna become a new home for more rats and, yeah, I don't,
I mean, I looked into the shed that's up by as you come in, and it's full of shit too. I mean, you know, I looked at Mark and I says, what the hell, Mark?
isn't it sitting right on the ground too for the most part?
It's on stones on one side and on the ground on the other side.
So you gotta pick it up, half it may sit right there anyway.
Maybe.
I can't see a reason for it.
Guess what?
I cannot see a reason for it.
I can't either.
That's kind of what I wanted to bring up and have a discussion. I don't want to make my I had the same opinion, but I didn't wanna make the decision by myself.
No, I turned this on, oh wait, I figured it out. I
Alright,
think it's still connected to this.
you shut it off?
I think you killed it when you hit it.
I just put the red.
Everything disappeared.
Okay.
Now it's blue.
And we're still
Um,
talking.
Did you want to do public comment?
Anybody want to say something? No, I guess not.
Wait, on the transfer station thing, one of the other questions I have for the work session, just mental note, gentlemen, the electronics. So I paid to get rid of a couple of TVs the other day. Obviously, I'm more than happy to do that. One of the things I identified though was there was a fairly large metal CD or a double deck cassette player. Okay? So we don't charge for those. Do we have to pay to get rid of those?
Why
Is
is
it
he
metal or
throwing,
is it-
why is he doing with
That's the way
electronics?
that's the way it's always been. We don't, if it's electronics,
Do not know the answer to that question.
That should go into the steel pile.
well, see, that's the thing, is it's, if they've always, historically, that's nothing against the
No, I know.
transfer station attendants.
No, I know.
It's the way it's always been. You got those 6 bins and, you know, you have flat screen TVs that's been more price for the bigger TVs, which I think are, for the most part, I would have to say in this town, they're probably 75 to 80% circulated through, so nobody's got the big old multi-wall
big-
TVs, I
The
think they
big
call
back
them.
end.
But then you've got, you know, there was like a bin that was full of CD players and DVD players and things like that, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that those would go right in the metal, it's like, we've always done that. So, one of the questions I had, because they're waiting for the vendor to come pick those up, so if we could put that
Yeah,
in your
I
mental note to call and say, hey, what's the deal?
I heard about Freon today,
But yeah, because
cause that
there's,
was another
yeah,
thing.
we need a container there, but there's no sense in getting a container there because all of that stuff will fit in one container and they don't have but a third of, the refrigerators and stuff have been captured, the Freon's been captured, so, you know, the other 2/3 of that still needs to.
So when's the Freon guy coming?
So I got a call today and they said Friday.
Oh.
And I'll confirm, I'll get a time for you.
So we can set up get a container there in another week or so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as they can make it perfectly. I know there's been some issues in the last few weeks, the times they said they were going, so.
Okay, so the electronics are supposed to have a pickup too, right? Or not?
Yes, I know there are 6 scalers, I believe, and I haven't gotten any word on that one.
So if we could just call them again, that vendor, and find out a time frame. But I'm curious if we could look at past
Cassette
invoices
recorders and stuff like that.
to find out if we get charged for those, because historically, they've never charged the
I
residents.
know through NRRA, we only got charged for the TVs and there were
Computer monitors.
The
Yeah,
modules and stuff like
but.
that.
I
So
don't
why are
recall.
we putting those in the containers and not throwing them into the dumpster?
Because they were electronics, so that was an electronic vendor that took care of those, so.
But would Riker take them?
It's metal, it's Rickers takes, like,
That's what I meant,
I said, what do you do with microwaves and stuff, and I said, they go in the metal
But a
container.
lot of those players are not metal, they're plastic.
So the majority of them are metal, you know, so like, they opposed that question to me, I was talking to Mark and Brad. And I said, they take a car, cause like insulation, I had a refrigerator door, cause you're gonna take the door off. Refrigerator door is all steel, they said there's insulation in it, I'm like, the same type of insulation that's in the dashboard of a car. Said that, when that goes overseas, they don't care, it's all sorted out
Yeah,
before it
they
gets in
started-
that shipping
yeah.
container, it goes over there. But majority of them, I mean, a lot of microwaves, it's just that metal shell, and then you have plastic components to it, goes right in there.
And then
You know
take
what I
the
mean?
glass out, throw it,
I mean, if you take like a pedestal floor fan, the post and maybe the base is metal and the rest of it's plastic, but it's got a motor in it, metal power, it goes in the metal.
Okay, so, what's tomorrow, Wednesday? I can talk to the guys and tell them to, pull that out with the container, the cassette players on that, throw it into the steel dumpster.
Do we wanna ask first? Like, why?
What does Ossipee do with their cassette players and all that stuff?
They only the TVs go in the thing, but
but they're already bundled. So all I'm saying is, if we don't have to pay to get rid of those, I don't think we should ask the guys to go upside down in one of those containers and empty them out. But
going forward,
going forward, anything future, cause like right now, it's, you know, the TVs are piled, like I put the 2 TVs, there were 2 flat screens, I put them on the outside because there's no box for them inside of the container, so they're laying on the ground. And they're kind of,
So if there's, I'm missing, if there's no charge to get rid of them.
but we don't know that. I mean, with Rickers.
If we,
no, go ahead, sorry.
so if there's no charge to get rid of them, why would we throw them into the bins and pay to get rid of them? Cause it would add weight.
I guarantee you they're charging us for those set players.
I just wanna make sure that.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm like,
Ask the question.
we don't charge for those? No, I'm like, do we have to pay to get rid of them? I don't know, cause I thought it was like a piece, cause I remember looking at an invoice
Yeah,
before.
no, I agree.
And it was like a piece, it wasn't a tote, it was a piece, so it was like, we had one bill, it was like 300 pieces, whatever, or 1,300 pieces, and I'm like, are those 1,300 TVs, or 1,000 TVs and 300 monitors, or are we having to pay for those? If we don't have to pay for them, if the vendor isn't charging us, I don't think we should ask them guys to go upside down to get those boxes, but moving forward, I say we put it right in the middle. And just TVs and computer monitors.
Well, I look at their standpoint, yeah, we can verify that. I personally think we're paying for it. They're not gonna pick it up, put it in their truck, haul it to their place, they have to handle it. We're paying for those.
But it would be nice to ask, cause that's something that's never come up to my knowledge.
Right, so we can ask, but before if they're saying that we're paying for it, then I'm gonna say, we're gonna take them out of the boxes and throw them in the container. What, save some money. I mean, they don't have to do it.
In the company we throw it in, they'll take them?
The Rickers? Oh yeah, they're metal each.
Okay.
It's like,
Okay.
if you have like a coffee pot from like an old fashioned coffee maker and it's got a metal ring on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything goes, I mean, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Cause it all gets sorted, if you ever watched how that gets sorted, when it goes to one of these larger companies, whatever, it's amazing.
Okay, I'm
It's,
good. I
it
understand.
goes through a grinder, the metals and stuff, and the lighter metals, and it goes across this fan and magnets. Magnets separate the metal and it goes across the fan, so you have like aluminums and plastics or foam. Foam weighs nothing and the foam disappears and that goes into a
Okay.
landfill somewhere.
Good, I got it. I understand it now. Thank
Can
you.
you contact that supplier that's gonna pick up the TVs and all that, and ask them if they charge for cassette players?
Yeah, is it by piece or is it by tote or pounds?
I think
That would really stink, I think it might be by pounds.
so.
I do think that's how it went. I think it's by weight.
Do we have a slip of that? Last payment?
For NRRA we do, but don't have one for the new. NRRA was ton.
Call them and ask. That's
Yeah, call them tomorrow and ask them.
the simplest
Yeah.
way to get the answer to the question.
Cause if that's the case, I won't delay that, I'll go down there with my tractor and I'll fire them things in the bucket and go dump them in the metal bin.
Or me too, so, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, good. Anything else?
I'm gonna go down Thursday, well, I was gonna get down Thursday, but I'm not gonna do that now.
so Wednesday, 4:30?
Yep.
Or Thursday, 4:30, sorry.
Yes, for,
Oh, I make a motion that we hire Century Roofing in the,
Oh, yeah.
in the amount of
yes, please, 34,825.
$34,825 for the repair and replacement of the roof on the, and fire station number 2.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Seems I
Aye.
almost forgot it again.
I almost do.
Is there anything else we were missing?
Make a motion adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you all.